it was one of those moments where I got my why. Why would I change why would I consider not having asthma? Why would I even consider that I could do something to not have asthma, to have good skin, to not have acne, to not have bowel problems and energy problems? And again, this was 1988, so I was just a pumpkin, I was just young, And I remember sitting there and I really got it. I wanted to be a good father. And it changed my whole life. That one conversation when she said, "You are so pathetic. You take these drugs, you're going to be a useless dad." So I kind of had this epiphany, which was, oh my God, I want to be a good dad. Imagine what life would be like if I could breathe properly. Imagine what that would be like. And no one had ever given me that thought before. It was always genetic. You're sick, you've got asthma, you're incurable. All of this disease you've got, there's nothing can be done. And so that was the epiphany that changed my life and started me on this journey, leads me right to the seat here right in front of you today, is the moment where she yelled at me and said, "You're pathetic, you won't be a good dad." And I went, oh my God, I want to be a good dad. How do I be a good dad? I have to keep up with my kids. I was only 20, this was the 1980s, and I knew I wanted to have more kids, and I was really committed to being a good father. And so I started on a journey, and the journey basically was, in those days, very different now, and of course it's a lot more challenging now, because everything's so polarized. It's literally, I could put a line down the room and go, you half think this and you half think that, and that's how we tend to be. And I'm not saying that about us as a group, but just in general, things are very polarized. And you can go online and go, if I eat plants, will I die? And you'll get a million hits that go, yes, if you just eat plants, you die. You've got to follow the carnivore diet, otherwise you die. And there's a whole lot more that will say, yes, you can eat plants, here's all the evidence, and blah, 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 and it's fine. So everything's so polarized, But back in 1988, when I started getting well, and when I was so sick, there was nothing like that. There was just books. All you could do was read books, And I know, crazy thing called books. Crazy invention where people write stuff down and they pass the information on and we share it, Crazy stuff, But anyway, so I started reading books, and there was only a few books available at that time. There was Fit for Life. There was You Can Heal Your Life. There was Survival into the 21st Century. Anyone read that? Survival into the 21st Century by Victor Victorious. The most crazy hippie book you will ever read in your life. It's all handwritten. The whole book is handwritten. So he wrote the whole thing in the middle of nowhere. And he was the guy that introduced, vitamin D bathing, he used to call it, in the 1980s. And wheatgrass growing and all kinds of stuff. He was amazing, right? So I got this book. I found this book. Crazy book. I've still got it. It's extraordinary. If you can track it down, it's amazing, right? It's so out to lunch. And yet so much of the stuff that he was saying tends to work for human beings has now been proven. But he was just saying this seems to work, So anyway, I started following his stuff, and I read the book, and it said, grow wheatgrass. So I ended up with 31 trays of wheatgrass out the backyard, and I'd water them every day and rotate them, and then I'd get a tray every day and hand juice it, and then I'd drink the wheatgrass juice, and I was basically willing to do anything. That's another key thing to remember, is what got me to be so well, and the reason that I'm healthier now at almost 60 than I had been in my 50s, my 40s, my 30s, and my 20s, is because I changed my diet, my lifestyle, and my environment. And they're the key things I'm going to go on and on and on about today, is your diet, your lifestyle, environment is everything. Genetics is 1 to 3% of disease.